It'll be fun to watch. We have a map veto system for you, so we shouldn't see Oregon this time around. And, well, look at that. Clubhouse is also gone. Coastline and INTZ ban from FaZe, so the least played map, its numbers aren't going to go up. Most banned map, those numbers will go up. We'll go to Consulate, another map that was about middle of the pack for Latin America when it comes to pick rates for these two teams.
Yeah, it was about dead even. And Consulate, I think, is a map that will favor FaZe, simply because Consulate, like we said, is lower played in Latin America. But the other two regions, North America and EU, that FaZe have played off a lot against in a bunch of LAN tournaments, love Consulate. Consulate comes out in droves in EU. North America sprinkles it in here and there. That's a map that, just based off experience and seeing a myriad of different looks and strategies and play styles on that map, FaZe should have the upper hand.
FaZe has a pretty robust map pool, though you do have to question how much it's changed by adding Yuna and then by also adding Ion. So Ion in particular, we haven't had the greatest look at so far. He only replaced Moringa during the split, so we'll see exactly what his impact can continue to be, but he's been a pretty steady player. Given the fact that INTZ has played so well, I wouldn't actually be surprised if this is a bit closer than you'd expect with our community vote, but FaZe are the favorites almost every single matchup they play against, and this will be no difference. 81 to 13%. This is a landslide. And for FaZe fans, you gotta hope that they can go 6-0 because there's a very good likelihood that FaZe could end up clinching their spot today, depending on what happens with these other matches.
Yeah, and I mean, this run for FaZe can't really be understated. We talk about Immortals, how they're still undefeated. And it's not like they're having a bad second half. They're in second for second half points. But undefeated still rings true for FaZe in the second half. And we've seen incredible second half runs that have materialized into possible land spots. Chaos rings to mind for EU, who just refused to lose. Could be the same kind of situation here where FaZe could get a 1 seed, and that's kind of the objective right now for those teams in the playoff hunt, is grab that 1 seed, stay away from your toughest competition in the first round. To be the best, you got to beat the best, so eventually you're going to play another 1 seed. It looks better on you if you don't get first rounded. You get more money. There's more prestige with it. There's a lot that goes into just getting that number 1 seed, and it could all come down to like a round differential tiebreak.
I wonder how much in the back of the minds will weigh for INTZ that if they get even 1 point today, then they don't have to worry about being auto-relegated. Now, mathematically, it's possible. Pain are sitting at 6 points, INTZ are at 12 points, and Pain has the tiebreaker. So if INTZ goes 0-2 and Pain goes 2-0, then it ends up being INTZ who gets relegated. But with the way that INTZ has been playing recently, it seems very unlikely that they won't be able to get at least 1 point over the next 2 games. And even if they fail to get a single point, with the way that Pain has been playing recently, it seems very unlikely that they'll be able to get 2 victories. Given the fact they don't have a single one yet through the second half, they only have 2 draws against teams that not necessarily should have beat Pain, but you expected them to nonetheless. They ended up being closer matches than I think a lot of people anticipated. So for Pain here, you're going to want to try to get out of that bottom spot. It's not very likely. For INTZ, it's very unlikely that you're going to get auto-relegated. With a victory today, you'll be able to vault 5 points ahead of Red Devils, who haven't gotten a single point in the second half at all, period. No ties, no wins. This could be a match for INTZ where they get their 3 points, they even get a single point, and they breathe easy for the rest of the season, which is only 1 game. But, yeah, you know, it's still a week where you don't need to worry too much.
No, and I think the bounce back and the relegation battles are really what we're turning our attention a lot to here, because we will have the relegation matches in a couple weeks. Challenger League is shaping up, and we don't really have a lot of coverage on Latin American Challenger League, unfortunately, so all we can see is standings and score results. We don't really get to watch the games. But if you're any team in that spot where you might have to play against the number 2 seeded Challenger League team coming out, we've said the same thing for North America as we've said for EU. It's getting scary. The talent pool being developed inside of Challenger League in every single region is growing exponentially every single season. There's no more free rides anymore. Oh, we finished 7th. Yeah, but it's a Challenger League team. Who cares? That's not the case anymore. And I imagine it'll be the same thing for Latin America. So everyone trying to just squeak out enough to stay either a 6 spot, 5 spot, just stay out of reach.
When you look at the team that is currently sitting in that auto-relegation spot, Pain, who we'll focus on in the second match of the day as we load into the first. Pain were known as Yeah Gaming a couple seasons back. They ended up being the only team that didn't get relegated back before the auto-relegation was added. The 2 North American teams, relegated. The 2 European teams, relegated. Latin America, you didn't end up having Yeah Gaming get relegated. They were Pain last season. they staved off that final spot. It ended up being Black Dragons who actually got relegated. Pain was sitting in 7th. They defeated Guidance Gaming. They get to stick around. This time, they might not have that opportunity. You know, we often say that you have 14 games to prove that you are not going to be relegated. It hasn't been the case so far for Pain. And now we'll look at the bans in this matchup, because we have lots of time to talk about Pain in our second match. Let's focus on this one in particular, because there are some high stakes here. For FaZe, you got to imagine a win will almost all but lock in their spot in Milan. As you pointed out, a very disappointing exit at the 6th Invitational after finishing 2nd in Rio, their home soil. This is a story of redemption.
Pretty standard bans coming out. Taking out Thatcher as well on Consulate. Not the most popular ban on Consulate specifically, but with the new changes and the propensity for Latin America to adore Maestro, I wouldn't be at all surprised that that's a direct response to the new update that has just come out. For anyone curious about that update, what this does, what the new mid-season changes do, for Maestro Cam specifically, if they get EMP'd by Thatcher or zapped by a Twitch drone, which Drunks is bringing as well, so decent response there to the Thatcher ban. The glass, the bulletproof glass shrouding the front of the Evil Eye will be exposed for those 10 seconds, whether it gets EMP'd or zapped by a Twitch drone. This means that you can shoot it with a gun. You could blow it up with a frag grenade still. You could zap it again with the Twitch drone and destroy it. So it makes Evil Eyes much more susceptible to strategies like this. And especially when these Evil Eyes are in very precarious situations where they can be exposed. You typically rely on your Evil Eye placement knowing that, hey, it's bulletproof. They can't just shoot it off rip. They'd have to invest some sort of special utility to remove my Evil Eye. But now that has changed, and we'll see for the very first time in Pro League what these changes will do.
All right, so this Valkyrie pick, 55%. We see her being brought out immediately. One of the big changes that FaZe had as a roster was moving Mav off of a more support-oriented role and giving him a position to do quite well. Is that a mirror window? No, that's not. That was Mira's banned. That's very strange. What was going on with that wall? Did you see that?
Yeah.
It almost looked like the hollow out of a mirror window. All right. I bet confusing. Mav has been a big part of why FaZe have been able to bounce back as a roster. He's been put in a position that was somewhat vacated by Gohan leaving the team back when Gohan and Astro were largely killing everything for FaZe Clan. While Astro is still doing that, Cameraman and Mav's contributions have been enormous. That's a big part of why FaZe has been doing so well.
So drones coming in from the Visa side, and for INTZ here on the clear, you got to be very wary of any of these new changes, and especially with the Evil Eyes. That's got to be your priority here for Drunks. Intel, maybe some Valkyrie cameras if you can, maybe some ADSs, but those Evil Eyes will be your #1 priority. And Cameraman taking fire from an upside-down rappel outside of the A balcony, and the table blocking his angle towards the head, but shots will still land nonetheless. Looks like it's Yuke right now repelled upside down. Is the Jackal? No. It's intact on the Buck. Frag grenade will ring out, but it won't even destroy his deployable shield, so Cameraman will lay in wait in complete safety and behind the desk, but intact, still trying to find a way. 30 HP remaining on Cameraman as the second frag grenade will be launched in. He's able to escape, scurrying away. You've got 2. He's now in behind the table. A Nitro Cell coming out, and it'll take half the HP off of Yuke, but it won't be able to collect the kill onto intact. So Cameraman still threading the needle here on the unable to die, basically, as Astro will take down Yuke in an immediate trade here from Intact. Here comes a Twitch drone to try and finish off Cameraman, but he's still able to duck and dive away. And
Drunks was not able to push because of the flash bang that got thrown out there from Duds. That is brutal. That was almost a free kill for Drunks to be able to push on in, but a bit of a miss on team coordination as Cameraman is still very much under watch. And there you have it. They'll be intact on rappel on the window, getting the very target that he so desired, that mute inside of the projector room. But there's Yuna watching just to see if anybody's going to push up through Visa. This is a position that we see a lot of Maestros play on a variety of different maps. Bank really comes to mind. Duds will take out Ion, so a nice opening push onto what will assuredly be the execute. Duds appears to have been dropped as well, as Boar will fall off that diffuser, and Mav takes out what little was remaining of Duds. Yuna takes out Boar, and there goes the diffuser, sitting down inside of the projector room. It's going to be very difficult for INTZ. Doesn't look like they have much information, and Nitro Cell gets tossed out, so Mav's position will be given away, but where he is in specific, it's not going to be known. Yuna just needs to spray blindly and wildly in that huge magazine. It's going to come in so handy, as he'll find not one, but then two as well, anticipating the push from Connector, and the wall. Destroyed, just as INTZ's chances were on that very first round. FaZe, still 2 bodies alive, and they'll walk away with round number 1.
Nice little 2v4 there for FaZe to work their way out of, and for INTZ, getting a plant down maybe further away from the purview of a Maestro looking to swing through long desk by flag. But hey, nonetheless, it was a good effort of coordination and teamwork there for the remaining members from Yuna and Mav. For that round there, you know, you can see the nerfs, I guess, to the Evil Eyes. They weren't really utilized much in that round at all. Early round, you know, you get a little bit of visibility off of them, but that Alda is still powerful, hasn't been touched since release, other than that hip fire adjustment for the accuracy. Man, that Alda is still going to rip through you no matter what. So you can take away his visibility, but that Maestro will still be a constant nuisance. There's no Evil Eyes being placed downstairs, as there's no Maestro being elected to be played, as Yuna will now swap over to the newest defender afforded into the pool of Pro League operators, which is Kaid. Look to Kaid the hatches, install out any progression. You've also got Cameraman again playing the mute. He'll look to cordon off the garage panels. Mav, top floor on a roam currently, just clearing out any drones. Is Yuke on the Jackal. That's an operator you don't see all that often on Consulate as well. Typically, the ideology there is you can hold rotations better than you can roam clear, so it's better to take a reserve stance. But the Jackal as well will still be a nuisance for all 3 members now of FaZe who have ascended to the top floor towards CEO, and it looks like Mav will fall off. You still got Astro and Cameraman playing topside for a 2-1-2 split.
Interesting how the last 2 operators in that previous round were both major information gatherers, right? Your Valkyrie as well as your Maestro, 2 very strong players, both extremely good at communicating as well for FaZe. And if you're going to have 2 bodies left for your team, those are probably going to be the 2 people you want, Mav and Yuna, right? Yuna being able to anchor down a position that he knows very well, a lot of times playing that mirror role, but without a mirror being available for this matchup, you're going to put him on something else. He's got 1 round of success on the Maestro, and I think you nailed it with the Kaid plays. The Thatcher ban that came out from FaZe is going to be a massive issue for INTZ, providing that INTZ does attack from the garage side. A lot of teams, when they know that they can't get the garage panels, don't even bother to try for it. They'll simply go for a server's take, which is why you see FaZe with 2 bodies over towards the server side, including Mav, who's just sitting there waiting. I think Astro had been questioning whether he got droned out there. It was a little too late. He had been. Cameraman very low on HP already as Astro falls 2, and FaZe will find themselves in bad shape through 90 seconds here. The second round. Jackal track now coming out for Ion, who, realizing the death might be on his doorstep, what better to combat the Reaper than the shotgun, able to take most people down at 1 shot, point blank. He's going to get pinched from 2 separate angles, distracted by the Jackal, and then felled from drunks. But Cameraman is there. He'll pull out that SMG-11, he'll take out Intact, and while still 1 member of FaZe Clan is down, and will find himself to safety, and FaZe will recover.
You can see the collapse in towards that bathroom, just moments too late for INTZ, as they are almost able to cordon him off and make sure that Ion could not drop back down. Good shots to the wall there by Drunks to down him initially, but Boar still having a tough time with these Kaid Electro Claws that are stalling out his progression into breaching open the garage panels. Another Jackal track will come out into a member of FaZe down in the depths, and finally the Twitch Drum will come in, take down both. Yeah, actually hit both of the Electro Claws, 2 for 2. So now the Thermite charges will detonate onto the wall, and everyone on FaZe have to scurry out and find some cover. And it'll be Yuna unable to find cover immediately as Yuke will take him down. It looks like one of the Thermite charges didn't go off in the right-hand panel, but nonetheless, Duds will bury himself in as now he's pushing through, and Drunks taking down another one onto Cameraman Yuke. Closing things out as INTZ slow their attack topside, stalled out and unable to collect a down member, but nonetheless the push from the back from an Ash and a Twitch, all that was really necessary.
Yeah, there wasn't really that much that needed to be extended from INTZ to be able to take control of that main floor. You know, we noted that it was a little bit too late onto the push in the bathroom on that main floor, in which we saw both the mute as well as the smoke get down, though Ion was able to find his way to safety. Despite all this, it looked like INTZ was anticipating a possible server push, and they swapped things around, realizing, hey, we know that FaZe's setup is likely preparing for both a server and a garage push, but now that we've been able to take out that bathroom control, we know that it's a lot easier for A, us to stick a body up on that main hatch, and then B, simply take out those 2 electro claws and be able to walk right in. For a team that was less coordinated, it might have been more difficult because you only had a Twitch drone to be able to take those electro claws out. Though, as a side note, it actually didn't look like FaZe had any real fight on yellow stairs. So you could have had a body from INTZ go through the yellow stairs door, take out the electro claws, and then simply given an easier way in for the thermite. It wasn't to be. The teamwork, though, of Boar and Drunks was excellent there to be able to put the pressure on FaZe and force them back. And then as FaZe tried to evacuate the site as quickly as they could, because one panel went up and then a little bit belated that second panel goes up, everybody from INTZ was just there waiting. With the pressure on the spiral stairs, you had one over by Visa stairs as well, over by that server tunnel, just watching the little staff room downstairs. And that was all she wrote for FaZe. Ultimately, a very impressive round from the way that INTZ played that one out, and using the clock to their advantage, leaving FaZe a little bit restless and eager to take fights that they weren't going to win.
So, identical operators coming out again for INTZ as they look to try and replicate their success from the previous round. And time control was nearing the end there as we concluded the round with about 20 seconds remaining. The wall wasn't open until there's 40 seconds left. But nonetheless, they got the job done, and this time ramping up the pace will be Duds. He rushes straight into meeting room and collect a kill onto cameraman. Astro, same position inside of the cubby, inside of CEO, but it looks like Duds will completely pass him by. The drone will head down yellow stairs, as I imagine they've anticipated Astro would drop on cameraman's demise, but none such drop happening as Astro will hold pat inside of the cubby, inside of CEO, and this could be a massive misstep here from INTZ, as, like I said, they want to ramp up the pace, but they may have skipped a step.
You'd suspected that maybe one of those electric claws was going to be going onto the hatch inside of the bathroom, but I mean, they used it so it was open for them to drop. This time around, the hatch is reinforced, and if Yuna hasn't used both of those electric claws on the garage panels, there's a possibility that, well, he could have possibly been able to get that hatch. It doesn't appear so. Astro dropping late after hearing the telltale signs of the buck. Going for a third, cannot connect. He'll take 2 down on Intact and Uke. But thank goodness for Duds being there, because Astro could have almost taken that entire round all on his own. If there's anybody on FaZe who's going to be able to pull that off, it's Astro. He takes down the singular set of smokes and the singular set of frag grenades from INTZ. 2 massive kills. And even though the buck was able to open up most of that piano floor, this is going to put a major dent in the strategy for INTZ.
You can see Boar constantly checking this drone by the drone hole. Is you have one electric claw removed right now. Not sure if Yuna's got it in the back pocket or not. The thermite charge will ring out nonetheless. Yuna's still playing back by the office with these punch holes looking in towards the now evacuated panel on the garage wall. Duds on about 10 HP, maybe a little bit less. Looks like he's going to be going for that flank once again down spiral stairs. And he'll have Mav to contest with in the back, waiting by the locker's double doors. Drunks is firing everything in the mag down into the depths of garage. Unable to connect those. We're still waiting for Duds to push down. And we're approaching the same amount of time that INTZ had last time, just better stall factor here for FaZe. You still have Ion, and sending pot shots in underneath the garage isn't going to really accomplish your task, as Duds needs to push in and be that, whoa, catalyst. There goes Drunks with a nice shot, but Ion in the immediate trade. They're passing right through by each other. Duds finally able to collect the kill. The patience overwhelming, and now it's last man alive in the back behind white. Boar will fall, or sorry, Boar will take down Ion. FaZe, again, they're waning it down to the dying seconds of the round. They just can't close it out, and that spiral flank has been lethal in back-to-back rounds.
I understand why you saw Ion take that engagement. You know, you have at that point an opportunity in a 1v2. You know that the Ash is going to be hot on your trails. You very likely have the thermite holding that diffuser, and there's very little time left for INTZ to be able to recover. Now, the problem with what Ion did by prioritizing the thermite rather than possibly trying to go back to the staff area if there's a rotate hole in there to maybe try and pressure the Ash instead, is that you're going to have the thermite trying to collapse on you. Ultimately, I think it's the right call to possibly try and take the fight, though. Ion played that very poorly, exposed himself a little bit too much when he could have just played much more shrewdly around the front of the van. Get that diffuser down. At that point, you essentially set yourself up into a 1v1 where the Ash is going to come after you and then maybe be able to grab the diffuser. If not, their goal is just going to be, hey, I'm a 3-speed, get the very final kill, let's put this round away. Almost unwinnable situation there for Ion, just based on his location, but still think that FaZe probably could have played that a little better. Maybe a little bit more caution from Ion. But in our position, it's very difficult to know exactly what the full intention was. It did seem like the idea was take this fight with the Thermite, go to the front of white van, and prompt the Ashe to come after you. You'll hear her likely trying to make up for lost time, and either grab that diffuser or grab the final kill. So there you have it.
It's a replication of strategy on either bomb site here for FaZe, not really diving too deep into the well, and we talk about saving strats and who would like to do that. And FaZe on the brink of possibly clinching a spot to Milan. I imagine they don't want to expose too much, and this seems pretty rudimentary setup here from FaZe. They haven't really flexed anything too creative or too deep into the well. The big miss there for INTZ on that round was allowing Astro to remain topside inside of Console, inside of CEO in the cubby. You should be able to recognize that it's the same progression every time. A Nitro Cell will finally land. It's the same strategy the cameraman tried to employ last time around, but this time it will connect. Same planning, just different execution, and FaZe start themselves off hot in a round that they desperately need. You don't want to drop 3 in a row.
The one big thing with INTZ, though, is as long as Duds is still alive in the latter half of a round, INTZ's ability to win seems to be insanely high. I noted in particular that after that round where you saw Astro drop, pick up 2 kills, looked like he was maybe going to grab a third onto Duds, but wasn't able to do it, that all hope for INTZ seemed to be possibly lost, given the operators and the tools that they had. And remarkably, INTZ was still able to pull off that execute without any smokes, without any grenades, and just simply pure killing potential. I mean, you did have Drunks and Duds still on the board, which was good, but Boar has largely been a non-factor for most of these rounds. He's been hanging back, he's been tasked with his position. As your hard breacher, just sit and wait. Get the garage panels, possibly get the wall by long desk if you need to push from that direction, depending on the way that FaZe is playing it.
Astro's been a silent assassin so far in this game through 3 rounds, just being very sneaky on his roam, and he's downstairs in the basement right now by pipes. He'll look to return back up yellow stairs shortly as soon as this ingress through the B windows starts coming to fruition for INTZ. It's a tough setup here for INTZ. They're stalling out mightily. But again, we've said that the last couple rounds. An entrance in through circle desk now. It looks like this is from Duds. The Ashe carrying the diffuser, also a very precarious situation, but it's Drunks who will fall at the hands of Astro, the man pushing down through the bathroom hallway. A man waiting to rip down the door is Astro, but Boar laying in wait as well. A Nitro Cell will ring out and it will not connect as Duds is putting down the plant in the midst of smoke. No one aware of the situation, but Ionic Cameraman, oh, in the dying moments. Just milliseconds away before that plant would go down, and now it's Yuke alone on the B windows on Rappel. There's not much to be done. A 4-way crossfire, 1 from yellow, 1 from bathroom, 1 from meeting, and 1 from connector. Sing your prayers now, Yuke, because there's not a lot unless everyone on FaZe starts sprinting at you. 20 seconds now descending on the clock. Diffuser lost in the midst of the objective. Toxic gas will also choke him out, just to add insult to injury as Yuke has nowhere to go, nothing to do. We're going to equalize. As finally cameraman will run out yellow door. Yuke will fall. It's a 2-2 game as now again force FaZe either to the basement for a 3rd time or try and move elsewhere, and I think that's going to be the call for FaZe.
So you look at the way that INTZ played that one, is that they haven't really been that fast of a team through those first 3 rounds, and what happens in that particular instance is they're able to essentially cut off half of the site, think they have full control, and then go for a plant. Now, it was very brazen of where Duds was planting, right in the middle of the open, in one of the 2 domes of smoke that we saw situated, and it took a little bit longer for FaZe to really figure out, hey, why don't we just shoot into the smoke? Easy. Cameraman got it, I think with the diffuser having like a second left on it. Very close. And even though things went very badly for INTZ, right as that diffuser ended up getting dropped, if that plant had gone down, that could have been a completely different story. Now, it would have been a 1v4 with Yuke still on the windows. There still would have been the potential for Cameraman to run out yellow, and you still would have had Yuke trying to cover the other 3 angles that were established from FaZe. So it's very likely that the round still would have gone in their favor, but you can't always count out a team like that. You have no idea what's going to happen. 2 great shots from Yuke on those windows and 2 missed shots from FaZe, and you've got a completely different round at that point. Even though Yuke understood that he was going to get pushed from yellow, I think he knew that, hey, it's a 1v3. At that point, even if Yuke does manage to shut down Cameraman on yellow, you can have 2 bodies from FaZe just catapult themselves out of the window while another person goes for that defuse, and it's essentially going to weigh Yuke down enough that he's not going to be able to do too much. Actually saw that in the strength the Strength Obey match last season for the United States Nationals. You saw 3 bodies from Strength jump out the window to try to wave down the person who was playing on Repel. Anyway, you were correct. In round number 5, after 2 unsuccessful defenses of the garage, FaZe have decided to go for the lobby. There are still Teller's Archives available at their disposal if they need it, or if they want it. A lot of teams won't opt for that, but oh well. They can still go down to the garage for the 6th round too, even though the garage has gone kind of badly for them. I don't know. It really depends on how you want to play this as FaZe. But if you are confident in your ability to defend that 2nd floor, as I think FaZe are now, they're perfect on the 2 times that they've defended it, then this lobby might be a little bit easier. But one of the most important parts of a good lobby hold is the body upstairs in that meeting, or projector as we call it. It's already been removed. Ion being a little bit too aggressive, and it was intact. He was able to shut him down. Cameraman knew that there would be a buck playing on those windows for both the defenses of Console Office upstairs. But that wasn't to be the case. Ion is unable to use a C4, but as Duds tries to enter, there you go. Cameraman will be able to equalize. It takes a little bit of time. He won't be getting too far. He gets hunted down and immediately traded off, but Yuna just breaks out of nowhere. Drops down through the bathroom hatch and splats right on top of Boar. That's your diffuser down as well. So not only is it a 3v3, Rob, but also INTZ is going to have to waste some time. They've only got 2 bodies left to do. That is Intact Falls. So you'll have to get either Drunk or you to be able to go out and possibly grab the diffuser.
Whew. Impressive intuition there from Drunks, whether it was a drone call or just assuming there would be a member up against that soft wall. Astro will take 1 shot as he scurries back towards the Visa stairs and will head all the way to the top floors. Now you've got Yuke recollecting the diffuser in sight control, nearly surrender, but inside of the bathroom, Mav returning to form, as now it's Yuke last alive once again. This time a 1v2 to work his way out instead of a 1v4, but sprays coming through the walls of the pings from the Evil Eyes as well, doing damage. Astro will peach straight into a pre-fire. Removing his head will be Yuke with the para, the new Capital fire bolts, and smoke bolts about to be on full display. But a soft wall right in front of him as he's trying to plant. This is an easy lockout for Mav as he sprays in through the wall. Even an MPX with barely any damage through walls. You're screwed if you're going to go for the plan right there. So it's FaZe recollecting a lead now. After they were at the deficit, it's 2 in a row on their own, and now in the last round of the first half, it'll be FaZe who have to go back down to this tricky garage.
I would have liked to have maybe seen them try Teller's Archives, but I don't imagine that they have anything set up for it. There's always speculation, right? But my guess is that if you're not going there, there's a good reason for that. So you'll try Cafeteria Garage. What is FaZe doing differently? Well, right now with their operator lineup, nothing. Then there you go. They'll use the 6-pick and switch off of the Valkyrie onto the Legion. It looks like Yuke might 6-pick off of the Capitao, and we'll pick a Jackal at the very final minute. All right, so for INTZ and for FaZe Clan, it appears to be largely more of the same, though FaZe making that distinction of swapping off the Valkyrie and going with the Legion. If you look at the 2 defenses that FaZe stumbled on this site in particular, the Valkyrie cameras didn't really seem to be that much of a help at all. In fact, the Valkyrie cameras actually really haven't seemed to be aiding FaZe all that much. Just the way the INTZ has been playing. It's been playing very sporadically, very odd. Sometimes they're together, sometimes they're not. That last round in particular was extremely oddly paced for both teams. It seemed to be a constant back and forth as there'd be a 10-second gap between each kill where somebody managed to find somebody else. It wasn't really quick trades. There was one semi-quick trade on the cameraman, and that was about it. And oh, and then when Yuna fell as well. But outside of that, there wasn't all that much. And every time that FaZe has defended this site, the biggest focus has been on holding down that garage, right? Bandit is unbanned. You could theoretically double up. You could also use the mute jammers on the wall so that if you have a Twitch drone that comes in, you'll have a mute jammer possibly in place to stop it. I'd be very curious to know where Cameraman is positioning those mute jammers. It might just be over on the server side or possibly even elevated over by pipes and then also in the office downstairs, just as a means of trying to stop drones from getting in. But ultimately, there hasn't really been all that much information denial from those mute jammers to stop a Twitch drone from getting in. As you can see from INTZ, there's still a Twitch drone on the board, so they'll be able to grab those Electro Claws if necessary. Given the way that INTZ has been playing this, you got to imagine that it'll probably be the same game plan this time.
Well, Cameraman is going to bail out of his position top floor and go all the way down. I'm not sure if he's dropped yet, as it looks like there's 2 bodies stacked inside of the bathroom, but could very easily drop through that hatch. but has been left open in every single attempt here by FaZe for a common rotation point. You've got INTZ bearing down now from the backside of benches, with Uke pressing into the circle desk. You still have Astro, though, upstairs, and that's kind of the issue that they had last time around, was Astro dropping and almost picking up 3 kills in the span of 5 seconds. He'll drop again and find INTZ now by the yellow stairs door, battling back and forth, but it's Uke that will clean it up onto Astro. INTZ now holding the flank, as it was Mav that pressed up on the Valkyrie just a few rounds ago in an attempt at a flank up yellow stairs. Seems like INTZ has read this and is waiting the body to press up. It's a lot of pressure here onto the bathroom corridor now, and Cameraman gonna launch a Nitro Cell. It will connect, though, and take down the Jackal of Uke. So there go your smokes, there go your tracks, and there goes a C7E.
The one thing, though, with Uke is that he's not always a necessity for this push. There's 2 times that we've seen INTZ be able to pull off successful pushes here, and they haven't relied on smokes. So good news for INTZ fans is that they have an opportunity for the same thing to happen, as one of those garage panels have now been opened up, and the path is a lot clearer for INTZ. They still have control of Piano above, and they'll just wait. Oh, Ion pulls trigger a little bit too quickly. And in that haste, you'll miss an opportunity to do any damage at all to Drunks. His position has likely been given away, but Drunks will be finished off by Mav, so a good joint effort from FaZe there. And this might be the opportunity for FaZe to stretch their lead. They have yet to win on the garage downstairs. Drone work is going in a bit belated. Second garage panel will go. Boar wanders into sight with intact covering, loses the fight, and heads up to Yuna. And Boar is extremely exposed. Whether somebody's going to be able there to read it or not is the real question. He's going to be in a 1v4 as Duds has been downed on yellow stairs, and just awaiting possible play from Boar. I don't think anybody knows the location. Funny enough, a Valkyrie could have been particularly strong here, but Boar is getting watched very intently from above. Cameraman collects his kill on a Duds, and there's Yuna to shut the door, and FaZe will be able to take their very final defense. They lose 2 on Garage, but bounce back quite admirably. We'll switch sides and give INTZ an opportunity to defend up to 6 rounds for the remainder of this game, with FaZe finally finding their magic and their groove on a site that had foiled them twice before.
It's a 4-2 split. Very common split, especially on Consulate. The defensive side taking the lead as well. Not uncommon. For FaZe there, I mean, they're finally able to shut down Duds on his flank, man. That was honestly the foil in the plan every time for FaZe. They could kill the time necessary. They could trade out bodies on the roam. But once it came down to that site execute, it was Duds on a flank down spiral stairs that FaZe just could not contend with for the first couple times. You can see the bodies amassing in the back as well, just anticipating that spiral flank. And it ultimately wasn't even necessary as Duds tried to push down yellow stairs instead in a last-minute switch-up curveball trying to be thrown at FaZe, but ultimately unsuccessful. For INTZ here, they're going to be heading top floor to start things off, and then a 6-pick off of a Valkyrie onto a Castle. So favoring, I guess, rigidity on their setup and favoring being able to lock down some of these angles. But you have Mav on a sledge, you've got Ion on Ash, you've got Cameraman who can bring breaches, and you got Astro who can bring breaches, or just use the impacts on the lifeline. Those castles will not be long for this world.
No, good tools there at their disposal, and you're a Castle and you're going up against that Zofia Ash sledge combo.
Bye.
Yeah, at what point do you say, uh-oh? Now, it really depends on how they're going to play it. Keep in mind that Uke does have 3 ADSs that he can put down as the Jaeger, so it's possible that if the castle barricades are nestled deep in the site, that it will require the rest of FaZe to burn out those ADSs first or lose some of their projectiles in the process. But from what we just saw of where the castle barricades were going from Boar, it looks like they'll be on exterior windows. And because of this, no ADS, unless placed outdoors, will be able to stop it. So there's another castle barricade going up, and it's going to go up on the double doors of Spiral. If there's no ADS down there either, then this will be a freebie either for the Zofia of Astro or for Ion on the Ash. Now, interesting that they're going to be putting Ion on the very aggressive role of Ash. He's been playing more of a support/flex-oriented role as you've looked over the last couple playdays that he's played on, and then as well through BR6. But a part of why I'd imagine they wanted to bring Ion in was his flexibility. Moringa was a flexible player as well, so Ion had big shoes to fill, but so far, he's done all right.
An undefeated second half would say, yeah, the results are looking pretty good. Got lifeline concussions now being sent in from Astro to concuss the member of INTZ, who will now fall at the hands of Ion. So there he goes again on the rappel, taking down another. Ooh, nice shots here from Ion. Whether that was a drone call or anticipation, nonetheless, doing a lot of damage to Duds. The 3-armor Maestro that will have to scurry away. The admin hold ripped apart in a little over a minute by FaZe.
But he doesn't know where Duds has gone. He could have fallen back into the cafeteria on his left, so a bit of trepidation as Ion now moves all the way up through Printer as Astro has now commandeered the other side of admin. So a good admin entrance from FaZe as another kill will fall in their favor. I'll go down to Ion, who manages to secure what he had started with Duds, ensuring that nobody else is going to be able to take that opportunity away from him. There's another head, but is unable to land the shots that are needed onto the SAS operator down by the double doors. It appears that it's the smoke, but sometimes silhouettes can be a bit tricky to deal with. Ion is still the focal point for FaZe, and will essentially be the spear that begins to pierce this defense. Intact will lose even more HP as he battles behind that deployable shield, which will fall in front of him now, having Drunks tag up, and the 2 SMGs will look long range. Not exactly the weaponry that you want in your hands to be able to contest such a long angle, especially when the attackers are doubled up on ACOGs as they are. Incidentally, that Castle is the last member standing of his team at full HP, and things could be going sideways for INTZ if FaZe just snap their fingers and push.
It's not 2016 anymore. The ACOGs no longer exist on those SMG-11s. So you've still got Drunks below, but he's got no Nitro Cell. That's 3 on the round for Ion. And now Astro able to collect onto Boar, the last man alive downstairs. Mav will clean it up after Cameraman was felled at the hand of that SMG-11 ACOGless. FaZe, though, bursting onto the scene with a quick admin take. That's a 5-2 lead now for FaZe. They extend it to 3 rounds. They're 1 away from guaranteeing themselves a point. They're 2 rounds away from winning the whole game. That pivotal round right there, we see it all the time in 4-2 splits. You desperately want to bring it back within 1 to a 4-3. 5-2 is a bit of a chasm to pull back. We did see a 4-2 advantage, though, to the defense when FaZe were defending. Could just be a rocky start for INTZ.
The math just simply means that if you want a victory now for INTZ, you can't drop a single round moving forward. That's it. And that's really tough to do, right? Winning 5 rounds in a row is extremely hard. We don't see a lot of teams do that, especially with the site rotation being the way it is here on Consulate. Now, it sometimes favors you if you're an attacker because the defenders can stay on the same site that you're winning on repeatedly. But with INTZ defending, they will have to do a full rotation perfectly. That means that conventional wisdom being the way it is on Consulate, you'll have to win the console office upstairs, lobby on the main floor, and then garage, and then do at least 2 of those sites one more time. It's unlikely that I think we'll see INTZ go to Teller's Archives, but maybe if they find themselves in dire straits, they could roll the die on that if they have something prepared and maybe catch FaZe flat-footed. Regardless, I think you're right. You want to be able to keep that close at every opportunity, but when you're coming out of a split like that, just simply with the fact there's 5 rounds left and you only have 2 rounds to your name, the only path for you to walk away with the victory is every single round, and neither of these teams have won 5 rounds. FaZe have 4, though, and they'll look to go for their 5th, which we said is unlikely, but they do have the virtue of the side switch here. I was a little bit suspect at what Vince, or INTZ, was doing. Not Vince, not your good pal Vince. INTZ was doing on their defense. They put 2 bodies to aggressively contest admin. Not a lot of teams are going to do that. And now, what is INTZ doing that is also a bit interesting is, well, they have a clash of Boar on the bottom of yellow stairs to play quite aggressively amidst a sea of barbed wire.
Oh, that was comical. Everyone on FaZe, they had a 4-man rush perfectly planned out to rush in through yellow door. They run into Boar and they go, nope, we're gone. Immediately turn tail and run out to the yellow windows.
I'm going to question that decision, though, because you've got the concussions from Astro where you can very easily knock the shield of Boar away and then push on up. The only other impediment you had were those barbed wires. So I think that could have been the right call for FaZe to keep moving towards the clash, but it's not to be. As for INTZ, they have quite a bit of pressure once again upstairs in admin office, and then you have the Maestro essentially trying to hold down the fort above the main lobby. This is going to be one of your biggest focuses as an attacker, is to take control of that projector room upstairs, because once you do that, you have soft destruction that you can use in spades to be able to push everybody out of the site below. Duds, who seem to fly under the radar inside of admin office, will be death number 1, coming at roughly 90 seconds into the round. All you've managed to do is take out 1 piece of the puzzle that was sitting over on admin. You've got Yuke there now. And if FaZe don't understand that there's a second body in admin, this could be Uke able to capitalize off of a lack of information and awareness for FaZe. It's Drunks, though, who's able to take care of Mav. I don't think they anticipated that the Maestro was going to push up as aggressively, and Boar gets felled by Astro. Oh, the Zofia doing good work. You still haven't taken out Uke, though, who's lording above inside of admin and could be a major difference maker over the next minute.
Still have two members topside in Drunks and Uke, and Intact the lone man on site. It's a good setup here for INTZ to be able to facilitate a retake should it be necessary. We've got Yuna carrying the diffuser right now outside of yellow window, and stuns now coming from up the lifeline from Astro in through those piano windows into the antechamber. Uke and Drunks have both dropped down, so as that stun expires onto Intact, people now have friends. Drunks will line up one, but won't be able to bring them both down. Downed in the toxic gas, though, as Intact will collect onto Ion. The diffuser lost the yellow door into piano, but you still got a flank coming from Uke now through Zig hallway. Could make his decision either to go antechamber or down through benches. Astro laying in wait. You don't have time, you don't have the luxury to be able to wait for the push here, and he's going to collect the diffuser and try and step up the pace. Rushing down through the Zig hallway, and actually Uke will fall, unable to hold the angle. A beautiful shot there from Intact, though, to trade it out. Now Astro is down. Cameraman carrying the diffuser, rushing in behind the circle desk. There's no time, though, as he has to rush through. He won't be able to get this plant off before turning the corner, and instead he just elects to pull off. It's round number 8 in the books, and INTZ still with the possibility of collecting 1 point or 3 points in this match, but FaZe unable to guarantee themselves at least a draw.
I just don't think they knew where the smoke was playing at all, or else Cameraman would have been a bit quicker to help Astro inside of the main lobby. What that really boiled down to was just not having drones in the final 20, 30 seconds of a round and not really realizing where they were playing. You knew that you were being engaged from inside a piano, because you heard the SMG-11 try to shoot through the destructible wall as Astro was pushing on out. Where was Cameraman to be able to assist? Probably getting the call that there's one in piano, likely with INTZ not knowing where you're going to go to plant. It's a 2v1. You can elect to go into piano or in a main lobby and be able to get that plant down. Ultimately, I am impressed with the way that INTZ was able to recover there. It certainly looked like, with the start tempo being the way it was of this round, that FaZe was going to be able to capture at least enough momentum to roll on through the site. But a bit of hesitation from FaZe's side, in which the patience from INTZ paid off, and then you end up with a clock that is not going to help you any bit as an attacker.
So we go downstairs now for INTZ, and like you said, in that round of time, for FaZe there, it seemed like really right off rip they had the strategy they wanted, which was we're going to bull rush in through yellow door and make it in through benches into piano. We're going to put a nail in this coffin as fast as humanly possible. They run into Boar, the Clash, and they go, yeah, no, no, this ain't going to work. So they turn tail and run, but then they do this flip-flop rotation where they're outside yellow windows and they go for a full map rotation all the way over to admin. They push up to admin and collect the kill onto, I believe it was Duds, the Jaeger. And then they stop pushing admin. There's Uke inside of admin, and they get down again and go over to the yellow windows again. It's a very disjointed round there on the attack from FaZe, just unable to make up their mind as to where they wanted to push. And then even when they did, they'll grab a kill, but they won't play off that. They won't push off it and continue the momentum. They let time ring out, and there was so much time in between each of their kills that they couldn't really grab map control. So for this round here for FaZe, having one strategy and being able to push through it entirely for the round will most likely help them out in spades. You've got a member sitting at the top of yellow stairs right now that Mav will look and try and identify and lock down. Could launch in some frag grenades, but there's a good chance it's Duds playing there and being able to ADS trick at the top of the yellow stairs.
INTZ has been able to put a body on almost every single floor on every single defense they've had up till this point. And that's pretty typical for Consulate. You'll likely have somebody playing above when you're on lobby or garage just to be able to waste time. And Consulate can be a map that is a particular pain to be able to jump on in and attack, especially if you're a very well-coordinated team on defense going up against a team that has some deficiencies when it comes to droning on attack. Now, so far through this matchup, it hasn't looked like FaZe has been all that oblivious to what INTZ has been doing, though that last round it definitely seemed like it, but I mean, when there's 20 seconds left, that's just how it goes, right? I don't know if the call is coming out from FaZe, though, as we now see Yuna move. If this won't be a garage take anymore. It might just be that there's too much resources stacked up, or too many resources, rather, stacked up from INTZ.
For this round here, as well as we progress into the final method, a deceptively quick round. Everyone has started to bail out now for INTZ. You got Cameraman pushing into the Visa hallway to try and collapse on anyone still waiting to rotate out of bathroom. And back down to garage. Sounded like it was frag grenades from Mav that might have detonated in the bathroom, but nonetheless, you've got now 5 members on site for INTZ as stun canisters ring out now from Astro from up above, and they're not connecting on to anyone inside of the objective. 40 seconds remain as now floorboards start to be opened up by Mav with the sledgehammer, and the wall is finally being blown open here by these exothermic charges. Unit carrying the diffuser will dictate where this push will go, and a nitro cell will finally connect onto Cameraman as it was pre-placed, but Mav an immediate trade onto Uke. Boar pushing up towards yellow stairs, won't be successful on the pre-fire, and as he tries to retreat, Astro with 2. Big trade there from Duds though to shut down that momentum, but Ion collecting onto Duds, and another one. Drunks will fall in tandem, and that is INTZ surrendering the possibility of a win. They still have the opportunity for a draw.
Now, it's very easy to see that round and just think to yourself, how did FaZe walk away with that? 27 seconds was when the very first kill came out for any team, and it was on to FaZe Clan, which you think to yourself, okay, INTZ has taken the very first kill, 27 seconds left. The garage door had just been opened a second earlier. What are you going to do? But FaZe won it simply because it was a 5v4 for INTZ, but almost all their bodies were within an inch of the site. There was nowhere for them to go. And because FaZe were stacked up in such a way, and because INTZ was stacked up in such a way, keep in mind that Astro was able to get that double kill after the rotate that we saw from INTZ trying to head down to the hallway towards the bottom of Spiral Stairs. There just wasn't enough space for INTZ to sit safely, knowing that the guns that were in the hands of FaZe were far better than the guns that were in the hands of the defenders at that range. So 27 seconds left, but everybody is within a step of each other. If you're FaZe, one of the best teams when it comes to mechanical ability, especially when you've got Astro and Ion, who, look at that, 2nd overall. Very few deaths given the fact that he's been playing a supporting role to a certain extent, though he's been a bit more aggressive on attack than he was on defense. This FaZe incarnation is looking good, and as you pointed out, they will not be defeated. At worst, they will get a draw, which means that through the second half, they will match the fact that Immortals haven't suffered a defeat either. The only 2 teams in Latin America to do that. And it's very likely, given the fact that there are still 3 more rounds to play, knowing the way that INTZ has looked on defense, and somewhat over attack as well, that FaZe will be able to probably pick up a victory over those next 3 rounds and give themselves 18 points on the second half and essentially guarantee a spot. Not officially, but essentially guarantee themselves a spot for Milan.
In the last round there for INTZ, you saw them mirroring a little bit of what FaZe were bringing on their downstairs defense with this, 2-1-2 setup. You've got 2 people top floor, 1 inside of the middle floor bathroom, and then 2 on the objective. The rotation pattern for FaZe, though, was pretty standard. You have everyone drop down to the main floor and then drop down to the garage. You consolidate, as long as you have everyone still alive, you consolidate 5 on site, but then with about 45 seconds left, you start to initiate a flank. And that was the step that INTZ forgot. They just sat 5 men on site. And Consulate Garage, you already have to play pretty far back because those floorboards get opened up inside of Garage, because those Garage panels get opened up. There's only a few places you can safely play inside of the objective. So that flank is really, really crucial for being able to provide pressure from multiple fronts for FaZe on their attack. That didn't come out from INTZ on their defense. They just, I guess they didn't progress to that step. They thought they could stand and fight on the objective, and it was ultimately their demise. I like this setup here from FaZe as well, their alteration of the strat. They go in for an admin push last time, and then they push down through yellow stairs. It looks like this time around, FaZe are quite content to push in through an entire admin and Visa to a north or an east to west push. Oh my god. Astro
downed himself.
He did. He got a kill, which was nice, and Mav will become and be his savior, I guess. But no. No, Astro's gonna die.
What a calamity of events that was. He turns around with his launcher still out, ends up shooting himself down, and then is unable to get picked up by Mav in the same time that Intact launches one of those toxic canisters on up. Look at this position from Intact now as well. He's going to lose some safety. Here's that exothermic charge go down. Both he and Boar were in possible position to continue watching that hatch, likely with the toxic canisters or a C4 in hand. You still got 2 of the toxic canisters from smoke available. And while, for the most part, INTZ is expecting an attack from the back, it looks like FaZe is going to assemble their troops over inside of Piano. Both teams will lose 1 body. You'll lose the IQ of Cameraman, and then Uke is finished off. So there goes one of your C4s, assuming that Boar has the other available. Just wait for FaZe to be able to walk on in. There's not an awful lot of time for them to work with, as Drunks is on the flank, but he spots the beams of a Claymore. Can't push up much farther. Might have an impact grenade. Is Intact on the hunt. He'll shut down Yuna, and that's Planter down. Ion falls as well. Now it's all up to Mav. 5 seconds left to find 2 kills, but if you're INTZ, you're just going to hide. Possibly go for the kill anyway, and that's Boar, who decides, hey, there's still one of us left to seek shelter somewhere in the site. I can possibly go for the kill. Let's get my stats looking real nice for Siege GG's after-match stat guide, and it's going to be INTZ taking a 4th round. Staving off defeat for the time being, but you still got 2 more rounds for FaZe to be able to put this together. With that, though, lobby has opened up yet again. It took 2 cracks at Garage for the second to be successful. But INTZ, even though they have a site available to them that they won last time, they're going to go up to console office, which they were not successful on to start their defensive half.
Very different story for INTZ on that round in comparison to the one that transpired just before it. In the round where it came down to that 4v5 for FaZe attacking the Garage and they were able to win in the dying seconds, that round was just too many bodies stacked in one location for INTZ. We saw it with Astro grabbing 2, almost touching each other inside of that CCTV or the office hallway. For that round there, much better spread from INTZ, and it also looked like they didn't want to retreat as quickly. Duds, unfortunately, was picked off early, but by the grace of a misclick, Astro took himself out of the game, and the Toxic Babe from Intact was able to finish him off. So you're getting a little bit of luck there because Astro has been obviously a difference maker in this match. In that round as well, for the rest of INTZ, for their roamers, the willingness, honestly, to stand and fight, to take engagements. And honestly, it was, again, down to the hair of timing there. Cameraman collected a kill onto, I believe it was Intact playing inside of the bathroom. And then I gotta say, probably half a second, maybe half a second is generous later, a Nitrocell just blows him to pieces. So again, you get a little bit of better timing there, and suddenly you're in a heavy man advantage for INTZ rather than taking a trade. It was a good response there, honestly, from INTZ, and I like the switch up from FaZe on their attacking strategy, but ultimately, it's INTZ that come away with the kills at the end, and just poor coverage of the diffuser at the very end there. Planter was very, very alone.
It's very different to the way that we saw the Garage last time, which was that FaZe had no time to work with, but still got every single kill. And a big part of that was that, you know, FaZe attacked from multiple angles. This time around, it was really a single, I guess, focused effort. You had the body come in to go for the plant in front of the white van. You had a body playing upstairs, which was Mav on that open hatch inside a bathroom. You just didn't have the same coverage for FaZe. You didn't have the same opportunity to be able to take down the various defenders. So, we see FaZe assembling on the admin windows for this round. INTZ has done this twice. They've aggressively held admin. Very rare to see teams do this day and age. It used to be a very common strategy. A lot of teams do it when there's a Mira on the board. Of course, Mira's banned out for this matchup. So essentially the way that INTZ is playing it, they've got some ADSs and goo mines in there just to be able to slow down the advance of FaZe, but Astro is just going to trudge on in, taking some damage in the process. Duds was there to possibly be able to secure a kill, but he thinks better of it and will retreat all the way to the long desk. You could fallen off as well. So, 90 seconds, you don't really waste anything. A goo mine is gone in the process, maybe an ADS or 2, depending on the way that they were set up for INTZ. And your gamble to essentially slow FaZe down has worked.
It's a good look here from Duds as well, who's had a very, very tough time being able to survive very long. And Boar's going to go for the ultimate run out, jumping out the yellow windows and catching a man on drone. Mav will fall, and there's nobody even remotely in the same zip code to try and trade this back. You can see Cameraman trying to vault in through bench windows here in a moment, but he knows that Boar has made it back to safety for free. Those are your frag grenades lost just at the availability of too much distance between your attackers. The Toxic Babes will choke off any entrance into that Visa doorway with 50 seconds remaining. Slightly early, but you can pace those properly with a little bit of a gap in between each of them. It's a very, very good setup here for INTZ on the defense to try and push this to a 12th and final round. You still got the punch holes from Drunks looking in for the A door, so that leaves Intact available, and Yuke inside of A. Not really have any fears, and there goes the diffuser. Yuna will fall. Yuke taking that angle onto the windows. Astra will trade one back, but duds on the immediate refrag onto Ion. Pushing up yellow stairs with a Gumine still on his foot is Cameraman as he just misses the backside of duds. Astra will have to flounder at the top of the Visa stairs with multiple crossfires on him. He can't press in to grab the diffuser. Lost on A balcony either. Duds will collect Cameraman and down. In the process, Duds will clean up everyone on FaZe. And we're going to go to 12 after FaZe had a 6-3 lead.
Just INTZ refusing to die. Why won't you die? I'm sure FaZe shouting as they are now in a position where a team that has struggled in the clutch to be able to close out a series, close out a match, will once again find themselves in that position. They can't lose, so FaZe Clan are guaranteed 1 point. We mentioned that earlier on, but a victory is needed because you've still got Nip breathing down your neck. You've got Immortals who are looking to claim that first overall spot. Right now they have it because they have the tiebreaker over you. So where do you go as FaZe? Well, for INTZ, where do they go? They're going to go to lobby, the main floor. And I had mentioned that they went to console office on that second floor in their what would eventually end up being their penultimate defense. We didn't know that at the time. But INTZ now have a somewhat favorable rotation heading to this main floor. They lost console office and they won it. They lost garage and they won it. They've only played lobby once, they won it. And it was largely because of the fact that FaZe ran out of time and they weren't able to get the plant down. Cameraman fell off the plant in the extra innings, so to speak, of the round. In that defense in particular, INTZ had lost a body, if I recall correctly, early on, but then they were able to dislodge another one playing aggressively upstairs in Projector, be able to regain that advantage, and despite the fact that it looked like FaZe might have been doing well, ultimately it came down to just them being the victim of time and circumstance. Very appropriate given the way this match has been played, because I would say that so far FaZe have been the victim of time and circumstance as well, as they were up 6-3, as you mentioned, and are now finding themselves in a position where the likelihood of them drawing is actually quite high now.
It was funny, I saw on the subreddit today that someone had compiled, okay, Ion's going to start it off, and cut me off mid-sentence, says duds again will fall inside the first minute, this time inside the first 15 seconds. That is not a good look for your Jaeger, who was remarkable on the Ash roll earlier on, but now he's leaving Yuke alone inside of admin. He'll drop Astra down to about 50 HP, but the Twitch drone doing some damage as well. The impacts come raining in, the concussion mines, Yuke in a swamp of utility, unable to evacuate either as he's pressed up against the windowsill. Now an asphyxiating bolt comes in from Yuna, just won't connect. Both of them utilized to try and clear out Yuke and establish a two-man advantage. None such happening as Yuna unable to collect. Still have the impact holes from down below, and Cameraman could press in through the Visa stairs. Finally, Yuke is downed, and he will continue to bleed out as no one even remotely close. They'll bait it in for more. That's Drunks and Yuke falling in tandem, leaving Boar and Intact alone.
Now the likelihood of you throwing a 5v2 is pretty minimal. It works on certain sites, but you don't really see that on lobby. There aren't a lot of places for either Boar or Intact to hide. Actually, looks like Intact is spotted as he's now going to creep his way up the Visa stairs, but there will be somebody from FaZe with that knowledge at hand. It's going to leave Boar as the only member of INTZ whose position will not be made aware of to the attackers. The MPX isn't the best weapon to deal with multiple bodies coming after you, but there's Intact in the very fight that we knew that FaZe was going to provoke. Looks like at least Boar will be able to take one down, but this could end up being completely useless, at least for his team's efforts. Xeno will be able to get the successful diffuser plant off. This was actually the first time, I think, that we've seen a diffuser this matchup. Boar's got a 1v4 to go against. He's got some marks at his disposal, sees a body, but Yuna will be able to win it out. They can scope on that M249 far enough back that he can just watch one angle, as it was a joint effort from the team. It got scary there for FaZe, but they'll be able to take the victory. Move them to 6-0-0 in the second half. 18 points. That's more points than half of Latin America, and they've just done that in the second half of the season alone. It's been a good run for them. Ion able to provide quite a bit of contributions to the team, proving that it was a smart pickup for FaZe. And they'll watch the rest of the matches today to see if their spot at Milan is clinched by the conclusion of match number 4.
Yeah, like you said, they'll momentarily take control of first place.